Hey everyone, Zazie here. Today we'll be talking about why the US uses the imperial system or US customer units, why the rest of the world uses the metric system, and why the debate on which one is better is dumb. To give you my perspective, I'm an American, so I'm like all about US customer units, right? No. I'm still in college, and every math, physics, chemistry class I take, I have to learn both because the rest of the world is unified and we aren't. But does that mean I want to switch to the better metric system? Well, it really depends, right? Let's start with a short history lesson. So basically, back in the day, in the 1700s, everyone in the world kind of just did whatever they wanted for measurements. Hey, Billy, how tall is that fence? Oh, George, I'm not really sure. Maybe if I took my foot, I could stack like four of them up to reach the top. So about 4 feet tall? Yeah, I'd say so. What's different between local towns, but with Britain spreading its seed all over the world, a lot of people use feet, pounds, and general imperial measurements. But there was no exact measure of what these were, and people in different towns had different size measurements because, they had different size feet or stuff like that. So in 1824, Britain was like, nah, we need to make it more unified, especially since they own like half the globe. So they made an effort and standardized the size, mass, and volume of the measure people already used, like feet, pounds, and gallons. At about the same time, in the early 1800s, the French had just won a revolution, and they realized this was the perfect time to start making a good unit of measure. Great Britain also ignored invitations to cooperate, which I found very funny. So the French invented the idea of the measuring system in the 1790s, but it wasn't finalized until after the revolution, but basically they thought it should be based off the Earth. So the meter was defined as 1/10 millionth of the length of an Earth quadrant, the length of the meridian arc on the Earth's surface from the equator to the North Pole. Because in 1799, they had just measured the arc, so I guess they really wanted to use that measurement for some reason. After its invention, the rest of the world followed suit and started to adopt the French's metric system, mostly all except Britain and the US and some others. Now, a little before that, in 1776, America won its independence from Britain and was a little baby country. They were like, hey, let's make some units of measure. And since everyone was basically former English, they all used feet, pounds, and gallons. And America then made their US customary measurement system, which is basically the imperial system, but their measurements were slightly different. Since Britain was the main trade partner of America, even after the war, they had banded together to make some things the same, but ultimately disagreed on some, giving us these differences between the two systems. The US does not use the stone, which is 14 pounds. The hundredweight in the US weighs 100 pounds, but in Britain it is based off the stone and weighs 112 pounds. Following that, the ton is in the US is nicknamed the short ton and weighs 2,000 pounds, while in the Britain, nicknamed the long ton, it weighs 2,240 pounds. Again, this is because it's based off their hundredweight. Other than this, there's very little differences between the two systems. Also, America may be using metric today if it wasn't for Paris, which is a fun little fact. All that history out of the way, let's talk modern day. Majority of the world uses the metric system, with about 6 to 7 non-metric countries, which includes US, which uses US customary units, and then it's Britain and Canada, which is a mix of metric and imperial. I believe it's the US's fault that Canada got mixed, mostly because we share a border with them, do a bunch of trade, but it's also the UK, because they used to do a lot of trade as well, and still do. Britain is kind of just fucked up. They are all over the place. They have mile per hour street signs, so imperial, but if you go to buy gas, it'll be measured in liters, so metric. And then if you want to weigh yourself, it'll be in a stone. Like, why is your weight in stone? That's so silly. Anyways, with that little rant out of the way, there are a few more countries that don't have a defined measurement system, like Myanmar and Sierra Leone, and some other islands in Oceania. At this point, you made me asking yourself, what the fuck is the point of this video? And I would say, I really don't know. I kind of just wanted to complain about the two systems, but now we can talk about which system is better. And to that, it depends, as both systems have their own strengths and weaknesses. Nothing's really black and white, right? Basically, if you want to do any science, like at all, the metric will be your easiest time. For distance, you got meters. Oh, you have a lot of meters, now they are kilometers, or megameters. Or you have a very small decimals, now they are centimeters, or millimeters, or something smaller. And then just doing any math or chemistry or physics with metric is so much easier than the imperial system. However, the imperial system is way better for everyday life. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see a street sign, or a car, or really anything, and you're like, I wonder how tall that thing is. Imagine 5 feet stacked up, and boom, it's 5 feet tall, or not quite 5 feet. Throw some inches into that bad boy. Speaking of inches, take your index finger and your thumb and make them parallel. Boom, that's an inch. Now you can measure shit. Like, say someone is this tall and they were like, I'm 173 centimeters or 1.73 meters. Bro, what? Centimeters is too small, meters is too big, but you say you're 5'8". Oh, 5 feet stacked up, just less some inches. So much easier to use. Or even with temperature. Unlike the metric system, which is based off water, Fahrenheit is based on people. So it's much easier to tell how hot or cold it is just based off that because it's how we humans feel. Granted, this is coming from someone who lives with U.S. customer units, but in my humble professional opinion, metric is a million times easier for any calculations in any science. But if you just live in a normal life, imperial is kind of sick. Don't get me wrong though, you go down the imperial rabbit hole, you will see some wacky shit like a rod or a furlong and so many others, but those aren't really used today. Also, one last thing, weight is a force. So when you say my weight is something, it should technically be a force. But now force is synonymous with mass, and it just makes no sense, especially in the US where pounds is a mass and a weight, as we have pounds and pounds force, but no one really specifies. And in school, they tell us one thing, and the whole thing is just a mess. Scales are basically fucking calculators, and they already divide by gravity. So there's a little fun fact, scales can do calculations. I don't know if there's a purpose to this video other than to rant a little about the dumb debate between them. They both got their own uses, so whatever. But if you take away anything, I hope it's these three things. Not the history, because you'll forget that after watching another video, but it should be that each one has its own purpose, and now you know which one each is better for. 2, know the difference between mass and weight. Technically, it only ever matters in science, but just know so you can be a little smarter. And 3, the country with the most fucked up measurements is the UK because they still live over there and use stones. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to learn more about the dumb imperial system, look it up. Or I can make a video if you want it, and leave some comments on other stuff you guys want to learn or stuff I can do better myself. Anyways, this is Zazi. Thanks for watching.